All right, we should be live now for about the fifth time tonight. I've had a little bit of trouble trying to get the stream going, but I think we're good to go now. And it looks like we are. So, welcome everyone to episode two. For
Three.
the Is this episode three? This is episode three. Thank you. I want to make mistakes, but episode three of the Company Culture Podcast. We're talking traffic tonight, traffic jams. So, Brad, let me kick it over to you.
What's up, my peeps? How are my corporate workers doing out there? It's me, the Jesse James of Corporate America, here to bring you the honest truth about working for 500 companies. In tow with me is my brother from another mother, the Frank James to my Jesse, i.e., the boring one that lived to old age, Mr. Jason. So, I guess some house cleaning, first of all. Uh, we listened to some of your suggestions and complaints, and we decided to lean out this podcast a little bit. So we're shooting for anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour instead of normal hour and a half. Second of all, I guess I would like to apologize to Lizzo because some people thought I was a little hard on her last podcast. And third, I would like to apologize to any of the older workers I possibly offended with some of the stuff I said, although I didn't think I said that anything wrong or anything specifically toward them, but you never know. I talk a lot. And anything you want to add to housekeeping, Jason?
No, I will try and be less angry tonight. How about that?
All right. Well, I guess moving on to our other section, RTO news from around the U.S. So first things first, not necessarily corporate America, but in the realm, Apple Store workers are trying to unionize in several different states, including New York and Georgia. Uh, they've had some pretty harsh working conditions apparently, and they're sick of it. I never asked you, Jason. How do you feel about unions?
I think they that's a tough question. I mean, I have multiple opinions. I think they can be good things. I think they can help workforces, help prevent them from being taken advantage of. That's how we've gotten our 5-day work week, which maybe we can get to four. If it wasn't for unions, we'd maybe still be working, I don't know what, 90 hours a week or something.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know I have some family who work in the union and construction type jobs, and it can also be an issue at times because a lot of times, which I guess we see in corporate America and non-union jobs, that some people get promotions or put in positions they didn't really deserve, but the union kind of forced it upon the companies. So I guess I'm kind of in the middle.
I'm actually pro union because I'm more pro union now than I guess I ever was because I think the US Department of Labor is a joke and we probably need unions to at least like protect the interests of workers because I'm pretty sure under this administration, probably the last one dating back to probably Clinton, that department's just a joke. There's no way they function properly and actually look into any of these companies. Um, I know it's a little taboo, probably what I just said, but I think it's true. So anyway, moving on to RTO news from around the U.S. For all you that are looking for jobs elsewhere, sick of maybe your current situations, um, Target Target has given their employees that work in their corporate offices in Minneapolis the option to work from home. They took a interesting approach to this, and I'm not quoting accurately on this, but they essentially said that their employees are like their customers and each have their unique sensibilities and identities, and they want to make it a family friendly place to work. So if you're in the Minneapolis headquarters, you have the option of actually just staying home or coming in one day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week. And for those people that chill me to my core, 5 days a week. So all up to you. Um, the one weird caveat was I actually read the article in the Minneapolis Star Tribune. And I found the article interesting because the article actually kind of blasted Target and said that by allowing people to work from home and not commute to work, it would hurt the downtown. I thought that kind of interesting for a newspaper to come out and say that. So I looked up who owned the newspaper. So the guy that owns the what did I say, Star Tribune? Yeah, the guy that owns the Star Tribune is named Glenn Taylor. Who do you think Glenn Taylor is, Jason?
CEO of Target.
He is the owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Ah, okay, yeah, yeah, that's right.
Where do you think the Minnesota Timberwolves play?
The Target Center.
Yup, in downtown Minneapolis,
Yep.
where the Target employees would have to go in. This paper does not give a shit about the downtown area. They only they're probably under orders to tell everyone to go downtown to make money for Glenn Taylor through the T Wolf. Um, Also, while I'm for some reason picking on Minneapolis, I didn't realize that Best Buy was headquartered in Minneapolis too. They do not feel how Target is and are are warmly welcoming back all their employees to their headquarters with the idea that most will at least be in 3 days a week, probably more. Funny how two corporations in the same area can look at things a little differently. And then while we leave this segment, I'd like to leave with this funny quote I read. It was just on Twitter. Someone wrote, "How did everyone's first day back in the office go?" And some guy wrote, "To be honest, I hate it, and I'm thinking of going to Facebook." And I guess because Twitter's making their employees go in. Side note, I was wrong on Facebook allowing their workers to work from anywhere. Apparently, that's kind of a touchy subject going on there. But if you're in tech, Oracle allows its employees to work from anywhere. So give Oracle a shot. They seem to be always be hiring. I myself do not have any engineering experience, so I cannot apply to those jobs. And now get to the main segment of our show. So we've tried to tackle different aspects of RTO. We've touched on this one. This one seems to be what drives people the craziest, and that is the commute. I'll throw this out there. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the average commute time for the Americans, or for Americans in 2019, I couldn't get 2022 stats, and then obviously 2020 and 2021 were a little hindered, was just under 28 minutes. And that was just one way. So in total, Americans spend roughly 56 minutes driving to and from work per day, and even longer if you live in major metro areas. My commute's a little different than Jason's, so I'll let Jason lead his commute off because it's a little harsher than mine.
Well, thank you for that information, Brad. Yes, my commute is pretty rough. I mean, I don't live too far away. I do try to live outside of the, you know, as you get older, you kind of want to get away from the city. A lot of people do. I know when I was younger, I loved living in the city and having that access, but having a family and things, I've moved a little bit further out. Not too far, but every morning I have to I drop my daughter off at the school bus, which is actually really pretty early. I mean, it's like I'm talking like I'm on the road to the office at 6:45, 6:50 in the morning. We're going, you know, and there's already traffic. I mean, it's crazy. Like I have to essentially use the toll roads to try to avoid the massive jams of people going in now that we didn't see during the COVID time period. The road rage out of control. Now it hasn't been as bad in the morning, but in the afternoons when it's leaving time, oh, it's like I don't know if people forgot how to drive or what, but the road rage is crazy. I mean, people are running people off the road. There's middle fingers getting thrown all over the place, horns honking, and then of course traffic is just a huge backup in the afternoons. So actually, because I go in so early, I leave a little earlier than the normal 5 o'clock, and I still have to go like the long way home to try to avoid some of the traffic. So not only am I dealing with the traffic jams and the road rage, that's just seems to have gotten worse, and that might have something to do with how people were home all this time and kind of trash talk to each other like on social media where somebody wasn't there, and I guess we're still doing that. Only difference is now you're behind the wheel of a 4,000 pound deadly weapon, so it's a little different. But I've also noticed that I'm paying a lot in gas now and tolls. You know, I mean, the toll road is probably costing me $15 one way each day to use it. But you have to use it because if you don't, you're gonna sit in traffic for hours. I mean, like I can tell you, I'll pass. I've never counted, but I'm just guessing. If you see this picture on the screen right now, it's essentially like that with the lane open. That you can use the tolls for whatever reason. People don't want to pay it. I mean, I get why you don't want to pay it, but I will because I can pass all that. uh, and that goes on right there for probably, I think I'm about 28-mile commute from my house to my office. And that right there happens for a good, what, 15, 16 miles. So you definitely got to pay the money for the tolls and try to go the opposite way sometimes. And but I'm filling up my vehicle probably twice a week now. Gas prices are at almost an all-time average high right now, so it's really taken a beating to my wallet. You know, I'm definitely since we have returned to the office, I am definitely losing money. You know, we didn't get, and when I say we, I mean like across the board in the United States. Like most people have not gotten much of a pay raise, right? Like
Definitely hasn't kept up with
yeah,
inflation.
we
No,
haven't kept up with inflation, first off. So it's already an issue. And now you're throwing in all these people that are back on the roads and paying for gas. I mean, everyone's actually taking a loss, except for, of course, the corporate companies, which are obviously doing well and really wanting us to build that culture. You know, so there's a lot of culture by the time you get to the office at 7:30 in the morning because you're ready to whoop somebody's ass. You know what I mean? Instead of work. You know, I mean now, but some days like you're so frustrated when you get there. It's like you can't just sit down and log on. Whereas it used to be, I just, you know, roll out of the old PJs and log on and check emails and answer some questions. Go make a cup of coffee or something. Make a little breakfast. You know, now I get to the office, I'll log in, and I immediately get up and walk away. I'll log in, hey, I'm here, and I'll walk away, and I just go do something else for a little bit. So it's like, kind of like you have to decompress from the drive-in, right? Which I've heard people say, well, the drive-in for me is like soothing and relaxing. I don't know who the hell these people are, because the drive-in for me
that's a
is
crock. That
absolute
goes back to
chaos.
our other episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's one
where
of
people
those.
learn a language and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about that too. Like that was one of the things they said, or what was it we talked about? Was that this morning or yesterday? Of they say that we get a sense of like synergy because we're all
Oh, I'm gonna go
experiencing the
over
same
that.
thing. Okay,
I'm
yeah,
gonna go over
so
that. Yeah.
yeah, so they bull. So and I know I said I wasn't gonna complain or not, but I mean that's really like my main issue right now. When I'm actually in the office, like during the day, sometimes I look around and think how dumb it is, but it's okay. I'm fine with that, and I've gotten exercise and things like that being there. But that morning in and that afternoon out are like the two parts of the day that I'm just like, I tell you, I don't know what my blood pressure is, but it can be good.
I mean, your blood pressure isn't good anyway, but yeah, I can see that.
No, I did go to the doctor today, and it is good. Thank you very much.
Proud of you, man. I'm proud of you. Well, so to piggyback on this, my commute's nowhere near Jason's. What put a time on yours, Jay? You're like 45 minutes just one way, right?
I mean, yeah, with the traffic, and that's even using the toll lane. If I drop my daughter off at the bus at 6:45, I am pulling into the garage at like 7:30 at work. So that's right at what, almost
And
45, 50 minutes. That's if that's if it all went smooth sailing. I hit the toll lane and there was no issues. But that doesn't always work that way.
yeah, so mine's a little different. I live in the city. My commute's usually 15 minutes on a good day. I also have to pay for tolls and stuff. But one car accident on the tollway, and guess what? I'm in traffic for 45 minutes, even though I only got to go 7 miles. Um, so I feel everyone on that. It happens a lot where I'm at currently. Traffic is insane sometimes.
Yeah,
Something I
not
like to
not
pick.
not to mention though, I just want to not to cut you off, but when you say that, it made me think of something we talked about, and I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself. But something that someone had said to someone, and I'm saying that like we know who they are, we just don't want to use names and stuff because we're not here to call people out or specific places, just to talk about
When we
overall
want to call
culture.
people out, we're just gonna use Brian L.
Yeah, we'll just say
Brian
whatever.
Loser. So yeah.
Okay, but What was it? They had said about, well, if there's an issue with traffic, then you should just leave earlier or
Ah,
something.
that's an old story of
Yeah,
mine. So
I'm
that was at
yeah
one of my previous jobs.
yeah
Uh, a person I worked with when he worked at Goldman Sachs, actually, he worked in New York. He was having a hard time getting in the office on time because he had to drop off kids too. So he went to his manager and he's like, I'm probably gonna end up being late. And the manager scoffed at the idea and reminded my friend that when there's less traffic at 6 a.m. in the morning.
yeah, which isn't even true
So
because a lot of us, whether you have um, whether you are a two parent or two caregiver household or just the one or whatever, a lot of, especially in today's world, both caregivers are typically working nowadays. So you're going to have some sort of balance between each other to get the kids to either daycare, school, or whatever, right? And I don't have that. I mean, as a single parent, I don't have that option. The bus leaves at 6:50. Now, the bus doesn't arrive there until 6:40, which is why we do 6:45. So, I mean, all right, we can leave the house at 6 and I can sit in the parking lot and wait for the bus till 6:40. So, I hate when people say that. And I think sometimes that stuff just doesn't get taken into account, like, because a lot of times these decisions, and I hate to say this, but this is true, right? A lot of times these decisions that are being made about essentially return to office are made by who? The people that don't have the kids anymore that are in school, they're probably off to college or grown. Or if they do have kids, someone else is taking care of them. They have no problem getting up at 5 or doing whatever. So it
well,
makes
Jason, if you're the CEO of a company, you could hire
well, yeah,
a
exactly.
maid or
Exactly.
something.
That's what I'm saying. So what do
It's
they
like,
care? Like they're not really getting to
yeah,
experience that, which both people that are probably listening to this podcast are, just like us. Trying to get through this every day to make sure we do get the kids. And that's usually the number one problem is getting the kids to school. I know there's other things
yeah.
that it can be, but that is usually the number one issue. But the kids got to come first.
So there's actually a different component of commuting I want to talk about, and something that me and you got wildly lucky on is actually paying to park in some of these metro cities. I'm gonna pick on Charlotte because we both have some familiarity with it. So some of the people I know going back to work in Charlotte, I've seen, or they've told me that first of all, the wait lists are crazy to even be able to park close to your building, but some of them are paying as much as $300 a month just to be by their building. About none of this is subsidized, by the way, by the companies they work for. This is just straight out of their pocket.
Yeah, that sounds right. Because I mean, even back years ago when I was working in uptown Charlotte, I mean, I was parking 15 blocks away and
Yeah,
walking,
you weren't close.
and I was paying 220 at the time, I think, a month for parking. And then at one point, I did get um, and that was an open gravel lot at the very end where there's like really no security or anything. You're just kind of like hoping your vehicle's there when you get back at the end of the day and stuff. And then at one point, I had moved closer in a covered garage building of one of the banks down there, and they had their own garage and stuff. And it wasn't the one I worked at, but they had their own garage, and I parked there. That was upwards of like 330. And that was, 2017. So, I couldn't imagine what it is now.
I remember walking in those gravel lots with you because that was weirdly when there was nothing on that side of Charlotte. So it was just like you and the homeless people walking to your car.
Yeah, and
Those are interesting days.
oh yeah, or like you'd walk up to your car. And I'm not hitting on homeless people, but you'd walk to your car and there's like three people just like camped out around it, like having a tailgate or
Yeah,
something.
leaned up against it, smoking a
Yeah, you're just
cigarette.
like,
Like,
whoa,
all
hey,
right.
what's up, buddy? Can I get in my vehicle? And that was for 200 and something. So yeah,
Yeah.
and it's gotten worse. So again, we talk about now. I will say where I work now, I don't have to pay for parking, so I am lucky.
Same. I got lucky, but
Yeah,
the rest of my team actually has to pay for parking if they want to be in uh, downtown area.
if you want to drive, and then here's again, someone will throw out, well, you can take the bus, well, you can take the train, well, you can take, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I
yeah,
actually
yeah.
have stats on that too, actually.
Okay,
But
good.
before I get into that, should a company that's forcing their employees to return to the office be accountable for paying for parking or transit to work?
Well, I don't want to say they have to be accountable, but that's usually typically something that is, you know, included in your compensation when you accept a position, right? So
Man, I
some
tell you what, I've never had that included in any of my.
well, I think people just I'm not saying included. I think people just kind of like when you negotiate an offer, and they come at you with something, and then you come back with like, well, no, I think I need this and that, and you're doing that whole thing. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm taking things like that into account when I'm counter offering,
Yeah,
you know. So I think at that point, like we were fine. I think where things have changed, so I wouldn't say the companies were accountable, but I do think where things have changed is that over the last couple of years, a lot of people may still be with their companies or different companies, but they've accepted, those what do you call it? Those I won't say contracts. They've accepted those offers, right, with different companies or for different jobs at a different rate, with in mind the fact that it was full time remote. I mean, this was like a thing where
yeah,
it was full time remote. There was no end in sight, and it was kind of like, yeah, guys. And I know it was like at one point it was like I don't know if we're ever gonna go back to the office. I mean, we're really doing so well right now with everything. So it's like you accept a job and you're like, all right, well if that's the case, then I'll take a little less now because I want the position. I won't argue it so much, and then but I'm also it's okay. I'm okay with that because I'm not having to pay for as much vehicle maintenance and as much parking or parking at all, or things like that, gas. And then all of a sudden it was like, pew, 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 you're back in the office now, these many days a week.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, over the last 3 years, a lot of people didn't get those pay increases that they used to, right? That was one thing that really slowed down. It used to be a certain percentage, but these companies and organizations justified over COVID. We're not going to give you as much because you don't have the expenses that you used to have, and they use that. Okay, that's a fair justification, but now you forced everyone back into the office and have really added to their expenses. So now, yes, I do think at this point now those companies should be somewhat responsible for taking care of their employees. I mean, here's the thing: don't take care of your employees. That's fine. They'll leave, and I think we're seeing that. So, I mean, it's still up to the companies. I'm all about capitalism, free America, free markets, but people will leave, and they are.
So I'm a lean liberal on this. I think companies should be held accountable for providing at least parking spots for their employees. You know, the idea to me that, you get to wake up early, get in your car, fight traffic, pay crazy amounts to park in a city for what? The privilege to go into a cubicle is kind of insane to me. But I think this kind of walks along the line too of all these companies pay lip service to their going green, yet they have all of us driving into the office, which is hilarious. So clearly they don't care about going. If they mean going green, they mean a different type of green, and that's money, not trying to help the environment.
Yeah, green
um,
as in foot on the gas.
yeah. So I also think so. This was actually a text I got from someone. Shout out to the people that actually listen to us and send me stuff. He told me that his last pay voucher for 2021, he spent more on parking than his medical and dental, which is kind of funny but stupid when you think about it, right? Nothing, nothing. All right, I'll keep going. Oh,
Oh, sorry, was that a question for me? Yeah, no, I mean I mean, we already know how the healthcare is with a lot of these companies, and then
yeah.
but then yeah,
Well, I-
to that, I think it just goes to show that I think which is why one of the reasons we kind of started this whole podcast thing. They talk about company culture and being a family, and they always want to say those key words and stuff. But in reality, like the facts are, it's really not, right? I mean,
just a number, baby.
yeah.
Just a
Hey,
number.
I don't care about your parking problems. Get in here. You figure out how to get into work. We don't care. And like I said, it'd be one thing if you were like a mechanic or something, and you had to actually go
Yeah.
in and to fix vehicles. But I think, like we talked about, after a whole 2.5, 3 years of seeing that everybody can, people can really do all these, not all these, but a lot of these jobs at home without these incurring all these expenses. Like it's really kind of hard to get behind sometimes when you're trying to figure out why did I have to fill up my truck 4 times this week, for
Yeah,
$80 a fill up. And then, like you said, all the gas and fossil fuels that are just being absolutely crushed right now because we're on the road and we don't need to be. We're really there to fulfill someone's power trip.
quota. Yeah, essentially. So I know what people. I know what. I know. If anyone didn't listen to our last episode, we have a term, peacocking. It's those men and women that show up to work in three-piece power suits and are ready to be the next. Was it Gordon Gecko? Is that his name from Wall Street?
Yeah, Michael Douglas. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just ready to be the next Michael Douglas. Power hungry. So they're well, I doubt they'll listen to us because they make way more money than we do. But in case they do, they're probably screaming into their phone or whatever, however they listen to us. Well, why don't you guys just live in the city and walk to work? To which I say, has anyone seen how much rent is lately in these major cities?
Dude, that's a
Like,
that's a great point. I mean, I live out in the country, kind of, and pay less for like what, like a I won't say all the details, a decent house, decent land on the lake and a pool, right? I pay less for that than what someone's paying for a studio apartment like in downtown Dallas. You know what I mean?
yeah,
How does that work out for them? Again, you're still taking a whooping on the money.
I like to pick on random cities because I feel like I picked on Charlotte enough. But Phoenix, I think in the last since 2022, rent's grown 35%. And I know a couple corporations have hubs in Phoenix. Now, Phoenix was once super affordable, you know, beautiful sunsets, stuff to do. The Phoenix Suns are really good right now. Maybe Kyler Murray will be good for the Cardinals one day. But that city is almost unaffordable to live in for the average worker. Not only is rent outrageous, but we have housing shortages or apartment shortages. So it's not that easy. It's not as easy as like Jason gets fed up with commuting and he's going to go live in the downtown area and walk to work 10 minutes. Well, he's probably going to be blowing, well, you have a kid, probably close to 3500 a month on
Easy.
a what, 2-2? Yeah.
Yeah, easy.
So some of that's just not feasible, If I was maybe an investment banker, maybe I could do it. But the fact is, not everyone's an investment banker out there. And these metro cities are just it's not sustainable to live in them for most people, especially people with families. If you're single, you could probably do it, but it's insane at the moment. And this isn't necessarily, big companies' fault that metro prices have gone up as much as they have, but it's clearly an issue that they didn't even take into concern when they made their decisions.
Yeah, and I think, and I guess I want to point out that I'm not just like wanting to sound like, and I probably sound like this, I'm sure I get this feedback. I'm not just complaining about these companies and capitalism and whatever. Like I'm not. It's just that I honestly, for the last couple of years, even though you didn't get that bigger pay raise and things like that, or they didn't provide certain things, I was able to work past all that, and the working from home thing was a huge benefit and plus on my financial status and mental health. And I was able to look past some of this stuff. We were able to kind of work through some of these issues because we were saving money at that time. So I guess what's frustrating me right now is like the one, I guess, shining light and all that and thing that helped us kind of get through some of these crazy like all the parking fees and vehicle maintenance because everything's gone up. I mean, vehicle maintenance. I mean, getting an oil change is not $20 anymore. You know what I mean? That's $80, depending on what kind of car you drive. Getting having your tires replaced. I mean, that's a probably by now. I mean, if you have a decent vehicle and you want good tires, you're probably looking at $1,000 to get 4 new tires because everything's gone up. And those were things that we were able to kind of worked through and didn't have, I guess, as much of an issue of because we had that benefit of being remote. The childcare things helped us get our kids to and from school, to and from sporting events without all the wear and tear and the constant stress. And so I think that's why I've been so somewhat frustrated of going back to the office. It's not about being in the office. That, like I said earlier, that's fine to me. It really is the to and the from and the oh man, I have to get out of here by this time because I have to get my kid and I have to get him to practice and then I have, and then again, the wear and the tear and what it costs to do all that. Working remote helped us maintain that or handle that better. And now that's been taken away. And I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from. It's been taken away without any, like you said, any thought or really assistance to the employees.
Um, because I've just been picking on every city. So this is another text that I got from somebody. Can't shout out their name, so we'll just use the fake name of Brian. Another issue that like I never even thought about, and we were kind of talking about earlier, like parking in Charlotte a couple of years ago, was in downtown Minneapolis has some real, real crime issues at the moment, to where people have legitimate concerns of driving into work and getting carjacked. I didn't real. I've had to do some research. Apparently, it's a big thing in Minneapolis at the moment. You know, there's people that I know that their building has to have armed security, and they have to have valet parking, which is kind of funny to me because of all the carjackings. I don't know how you could be putting people's kind of safety in danger for stuff like that too. And I know most people can say like, well, all major metro areas have crime, and it's like I know, but crime is also on the rise everywhere, and it just seems like it's another thing that we just didn't think about, or upper management didn't care, because it's easy when you're walking to your office in your penthouse suite, but for the rest of us that don't have that option, or maybe don't live in New York or something like that, life isn't as easy.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, not everybody can afford to park in those luxury spots, you know? Like
Yeah, right.
like 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 me, I had to park in that lot at the other end of the city pretty much. And you never knew if your vehicle was going to be there or not when you got home. Got through it,
Yeah.
but was compensated for it at that time and it made sense. I think another thing to mention is traffic accidents. Now you're just more cars on the road, the more opportunities for accidents. And I know in the area I live, I just saw a report on the news the other day. Traffic accidents are up like 60%. Well, why would that be? More people are on the road. You know, the more cars on the road, the more likelihood of an accident. And again, it goes back to the point of, do they really need to be there? Is the question. Like, do those cars really need to be on the road for people to go into an office to do something they were already doing at home just fine, right? I mean, obviously, the cops got to be out there, the convenience store workers, the nurses, doctors, yes, but do you need a 9 to 5 office guy driving in every day like Office Space, you know, like
Yeah.
trying to change lanes and get stuck, change lanes and get stuck, and then get angry, and then boom, smash into someone or whatever. For what? For what purpose?
No, I agree. I guess the last part before we get off this commute topic is people are probably wondering, well, why don't you just get a train pass? Cities like Dallas and Phoenix, their public transit isn't great. That's also not subsidized, by the way. And Charlotte, in particular, I know Charlotte has cats. I used to take the train into work, which was misery in itself because of how humid it got and trying to dress nice for work. I think that's why I don't do it anymore. I just try to wear t-shirts to work. But the average price for a cat's ticket monthly is $120, which doesn't sound like a lot. What's that add up to? 1400, a little more than 1400 for the year. That's kind of a lot of money, maybe to a family of two or three. That's 1400 you can put anywhere else. Savings, college, kids' college, stuff like that. So remember, yeah, there are options out there. I have a friend that takes the express bus and he pays $140 a month. Doesn't sound like a lot of money, but to some families it really is. like I said, we all don't have exorbitant salaries, and I wish people kind of just took notice of that a little more.
Yeah, I think that's something to point out because I have 2 points of view on that. For whatever reason, like, and people are probably listening to us right now, and they're saying, "Oh, these guys work in corporate America. They're probably making crazy money." Well, first off, we're not.
I wish.
Just because you
Yeah.
hear of like, whatever Fortune 500 company name, yeah, the CEOs and board members are making that money, and there's people out there that are, but most of us are just like everyone else, man. We are just struggling to get by, to support our families, to raise our kids and just make something of ourselves, but we're not killing it. And just like everybody assumes that restaurant owners are super rich. I mean, sure, some of these big chain restaurant owners, like the actual CEOs of that, maybe. But my family owned a small business restaurant, and man, we struggled like just to pay the staff. I mean, struggled. And you know how you all see people say, "Oh man, they're just so cheap and they won't pay their employees." No, I mean we paid our employees, but it's a grind. It's a struggle.
Well, COVID taught us how razor thin the margins are for
Yeah,
family owned restaurants
exactly, because that's what you
that we didn't
saw.
know.
What
Yeah.
you saw was almost mostly the family-owned restaurants went really to the wayside during
Yep.
COVID. Pretty much, and I'm not saying all is left now. There are some people that were able to somewhat survive, and some are starting to come back. But what you mostly saw was, I mean, the mom and pop restaurants, family owned, they're kind of like going extinct. I mean, everything now is a Fridays or I mean, I don't know, Fridays, Chili's, some of these like restaurants that you think you see in the city, and you're like, oh, yeah, see, that's a family. It's not. There's probably like 5 different restaurants somewhere across the country. Like those
It
are not.
happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, look at this little cool spot I found here in Myrtle Beach or something, and they're like, yeah, there's like 6 more of them in Virginia. And you're like, oh, okay, never mind. I thought it was what. So that's a little tangent there, but yeah, I want people to understand too. Like, we're like, don't if you're listening to this and you're a cop or you're a nurse or something, like, trust me, like, we're struggling like you all are too. We're not just like making money and here just complaining. Like, these are real concerns that we have, and we're always crunching numbers. I know what day payday is. It's in 2 days, and I can't wait because we're looking a little thin right now.
Yeah, me too. And I don't even have a kid.
And the reason, honestly, I'm no joke. The reason I'm looking kind of thin is because the last 2 weeks, I've had to fill my truck up 3 times at $80 a fill up. So that's what, $240 about. I'm not very good math in public,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
but still, that's
Yeah.
$240 that I've had to use just for fuel that I was. If this was a normal type, what it was like before return to office, I've probably filled it up once. So, like, that's an extra 160. Is that right? Somehow that I would have saved by not being in. And like he said earlier, that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's $160 every week, right? Every week times 12 of what the difference is. So it's definitely a huge hit.
we're we're probably gonna have to do a separate episode on this because it probably goes into like employee health, but because we don't have a lot of time. But the food stuff too, I was thinking about of like because you're commuting, you have less time to cook, so you have to buy Applebee's or Buffalo Wild Wings in downtown, and it's making you unhealthy. Where if you could work from home, you could cook your own meals, you could watch what you eat. Not everyone does it, obviously, but if that's how you wanted to live your life, try to make a change. That lent itself to making those changes easier. And it's always good to cook more meals. And to Jason's point, you save money. You save money to like do more things, save for college, save for retirement, stuff like that. But we'll have to push that to another episode. Um,
Yeah, because I got
so
like 10 ideas that just hit my head right there that I was like thinking of. Like just real quick, just little things like when I was working remote, raising a kid by myself. I don't know, about 11 a.m. I could just walk downstairs and put a pot roast in the crock pot with some potatoes, carrots, celery, the whole thing, and have
yeah,
dinner just ready. Or, hey, I'm making dinner at 5 o'clock, not leaving the office at 5, getting home by 7, you know what I mean? Like soccer, basketball, whatever. So yeah, but we can talk about that later. But just those little things that
Yeah,
like
we'll
the commute, but the commute is what's taking away from that. It's the commute.
correct. Yeah. Yeah, we'll push all that to a different episode. But I know you guys hear me. I don't like to complain. I just think I'm informing you that businesses, newspapers, colleges are not on the average worker's side. So, in the Harvard Business Review, they had an article that said why commutes are good for you. So, we're going to play the BS game like we did last time, Jason. They had 4 points. I'm gonna read out a point. You're gonna tell me whether it's BS or not.
All right, and then also whoever, I mean, we had over 110 viewers on our last podcast. So that was amazing, but no comments. So please, if you're listening to this, drop a comment and tell us if you agree with this and why or why, and if you don't, why. You know what I mean? Like, just let's interact a little bit and give some ideas. We want to hear from people who are experiencing the same things. And if you think we're just full of crap, then tell us. I mean, we're cool with that too. We can take criticism and look at it. You know,
I only got 2 people that said we're full of it, but everyone else that like
well,
texted me
that's fine too. I
or
mean,
emailed me were pretty positive.
I'm down to
So
listen. But make sure if you're listening to this, I'm sure people will, that you go ahead and comment.
yeah. So all right, Jason. Well, here's the first one. Commuting adds structure to your life.
I mean, I'm an adult, so I'm gonna call BS because I already have structure to my life. I mean, as an adult and a parent, I can say that I have to have structure anyways because I have to work. I have to get my children to school. you know. Anyways, I got stuff around the house I have to do. Honestly, I don't see how just driving into an office is adding structure to my life.
Well, also, why can't I just have structure? Waking up, logging on, making a nice pot of coffee, and just starting my day at my house. That's also structure. I don't have to be in traffic with a bunch of pissed off parents. So, yeah, I call BS too. All right. Number two, you have a shared experience with your fellow coworkers.
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but BS. Okay, well, actually, that's a BS, but
I
let's
mean,
back
you
up.
do have shared
Okay, yeah, I was
experience
gonna
with your
say,
coworkers
fine,
in
we have a
traffic.
shared experience. Yes, so I'll give them that. I don't think, but I think their intention and the spirit of what they're saying is completely BS because, like I said, the road rage in the morning. I can't even get to my like when I get to my desk, I have to walk around a little bit because it's so bad. I mean, like I had somebody cut me off in the parking area where I worked the other day, and like I was really angry. I mean, they cut me off and then they give me the horn and flip me off. I was ready to go whoop somebody's ass. You know what I mean? But am a professional and just an adult, so I had to take a deep breath. Why do you want to start your day out like that? But so I'm just gonna go ahead and say yes to their answer. But I mean, honestly, I can see it causing actually more issues, not just at with people at work, but I mean, people come in angry and upset because they just had to fight traffic all day, and then now they're like just in a mood, you know. And once you get in a mood, sometimes, and you have to work on that yourself. But once you're in a mood, it could ruin the whole day.
This is such a weird one to me because, like, I understand their angle. They're like, your shared experiences, you build bonds over that. But, like, it's an experience I don't want to have. And I also don't walk into the office and, go over to Brian and be like, hey, Brian, you fight traffic today like me? Yeah, we're best friends now. Like, I think that's such a crock of shit. So
Yeah, and
I'm calling BS on this one.
I also think it's actually somewhat counterproductive to what their idea is because if anything, if I talk to someone and I've talked to you, about the traffic, you and I were just talking this morning when you were in traffic, right?
Yeah. God, yeah.
We're not like you said, yeah, buddy, high five. We fought traffic this morning together. Let's go kick ass at work today. It was really us being like, why in the hell are we doing this? Why did I just have to fight through all that to get here to do what I can do at home, or not even home, but somewhere else? Like, why did we just go through that? And it actually makes you more angry. And then you start getting employees who are getting more riled up together because you get one saying something, then the next one, then the next one, and you get people actually like really fired up against you. So if I was them, I'd
Yeah.
probably leave that out.
I yeah, that's the Harvard business review is certainly not on the average worker's side. But so here's number three. Number three, it, it gives you purpose.
Um,
Do you want me to define how they mean it?
yeah, how do they define that? Like, gives me purpose? Like, I already had a purpose.
So when you're commuting to work, going to work is your purpose. So they're very single minded about this. They think your only purpose is to work, pay taxes, and probably die. You're basically fulfilling your purpose by commuting to the office.
BS. I mean, that just sounds stupid. That's just like they were like, hey, how many of these are there? Four?
Yeah, there's four.
It sounds to me like they're grasping at straws literally to. Honestly, I actually like these questions because these questions or these things are so stupid.
It shows
Because,
how out of touch people
well,
are because
yeah,
I how I make fun of not everyone with an MBA, although I think an MBA is kind of like a scam masters. But this is what they teach in MBA courses, right? It doesn't apply to anyone actually. And when you say it out loud, it sounds ridiculous, but you paid, I don't even know how much Harvard is, to be honest. You paid $200,000 for an MBA from them to tell people this is why you should enjoy commuting. It's craziness.
yeah, and it sounds really they're grasping at straws and just trying to, like you said, it's so ridiculous, but they're trying to like put a positive spin on it that they're saying these things. And I will say that some of this stuff I have heard from management where I work, as in like they probably all read the same stuff or was like, we're all going to use these things, you know what I mean? And
Oh, yeah.
they tried to like spin it a little bit, but that's absolutely ridiculous. So since the purpose, I have a purpose every day. That's to support my family, which is why I go to work every day. So you know,
Well, your purpose doesn't have to be work. Like maybe live your life to your fullest every day, or live healthy lifestyle, stuff like that. Like anyone can have any type of purpose. The fact that they think getting in a car, fighting traffic to go work in a beige cubicle for 8 hours gives you a sense of purpose is kind of insane.
it's actually
All right.
insulting. I mean, going back
Yeah,
to what
it
we
is
talked about
insulting.
earlier, they literally made a whole movie about that in the 90s, 1999,
Office Space.
Office Space, where they
Yeah.
literally ragged on the whole office dynamic, which I think I mentioned to you before, which is kind of funny because like the movie opens up with them and all three guys, the main stars, in traffic, right? Which is kind of funny how their day starts off like trash. But anyway, it's like I thought it was weird how like the people who probably watched that in 1999 that were like probably in college at that point and stuff are who's running a lot of things now, and they probably laughed and I'll never be like that. But what is that song? Look at me now. Right?
Uh,
That's them, right?
you left out another movie that actually addresses a lot of this too in a much darker way.
What's that one?
Fight Club.
Oh yeah, Fight Club.
Because remember, Edward Norton's just a middle management pissant sitting in a beige cubicle with his red, or what was it, black, white tie, whatever it was, white
Yeah,
shirt.
yeah,
And basically, that movie is about, purpose and what was packaged to everybody as what their purpose should be and how that whole generation was actually pissed off about it.
yeah.
Uh,
That's right.
I
Good
don't,
point.
some of the other message in the movie not great, hasn't aged well, but that aspect of it probably has. So,
Yeah, well, that's another one.
uh,
That Michael Douglas movie, Falling Down, where he just finally loses it.
ooh, that's a
You
good
know,
one.
he just snaps.
Yeah,
You know, because they just got
that's a
him in
movie you couldn't make now.
they just got him in the grind, the grinder, man.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, they're putting us. We kind of got out of the grinder a little bit and did things and still did things, and they're putting us back in. They want us. They want us. The man, whoever the man, the woman, want us back on the grinder, and so I'm actually kind of worried about um, how things are gonna be. So.
Oh, me too. Me too. So the last one on this list is preparation. It 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 gives you a chance to maybe prepare for meetings, prepare how you're gonna set up your day, prepare how you're gonna park. I don't know. I This one I could kind of buy. I guess if I have like an hour commute and I have a bunch of meetings all day, or if I have projects I'm planning or stuff, I could go through my. I can do it in my head, or maybe write it down on a journal or my phone. Although you shouldn't be texting and driving, but I guess I could see the credence in this one a little bit. But again, it's a little bit of a stretch because so many people are tense in the morning and pissed off. I don't know how much they're really preparing for stuff.
I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. Driving a vehicle is a very people don't think about this. It's a very dangerous thing. You're driving a 4,000 pound steel or nowadays carbon fiber bullet around. You know what I mean? I mean, it's dangerous. You got to be paying attention. And I think a lot of times what you see is people not paying attention. Usually when I'm driving, I am actually paying attention. I'm focused on that and all the other people on the road that are probably preparing for their office meetings, I guess, that are cutting my lanes and whatnot. But I'm gonna go with BS on that one again. I mean, preparing, like you said, most people, a lot of people were talking about drive. What I mean, other than like, I guess I could see you if you're in that daydream trance where you're just like essentially like when it's in the shower, where you're just driving down the road and you're talking to yourself, but or you're having a conversation with someone. You know what I mean? Like what you would say. I guess you can see
Yeah.
that, but that conversation for me, if I ever have that, is usually me. But I'm gonna tell someone to kiss my ass today or something. But then, I guess by the time I get to the office, I'm like, okay, whatever. We're here. So I don't know.
Look,
I don't know.
I had some insane commutes when I lived in Miami, and I can tell you I didn't spend 1 second of those commutes preparing for anything. Maybe preparing to quit. That was about it. Not
Yeah,
not
like
preparing
you're
for
just
meetings
thinking
or
like, what
anything.
what am I doing right now? Like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I?
Yeah.
I was sitting in traffic this morning, and I was just thinking to myself like, what am I doing? And then I think that's where like I'll get somewhat comfortable. I'll start getting into that comfortable level of being back in the office. But then when I get there from after sitting in traffic, I'm like, oh, good, I'm here. And then I sit down, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like I'm just sitting here doing what I could be doing in my underwear at home. You know what I mean? But I just had to fight 15,000 people to get here. You know, and it just
Yeah.
blows your mind sometimes.
It's a bad thing when you got to talk yourself into going to work in your commute because you're already in a bad place. But all right, well, this closes out our commute stuff. You got any shout outs, Jason?
Uh, all my people know who they are. So I know I've had some of my former, current, and possibly future coworkers and friends listen to the last podcast. They liked it. I hope this was a little better. I mean, I probably do sound better again, but like I told you before, I am better. So you all can hate all you want, but just for whoever listens to this, if we had 110 last time, maybe we can get 130 this time. Be sure if you like this podcast, share it to your friends on. You can just share the link on Facebook and YouTube and wherever. And be sure to comment and give us some thoughts. I mean, if you hated me, let me know. Well, then we'll do nothing about it. But you can let us know. Um, but if you have ideas or
Well,
thoughts or things y'all want us to talk about or discuss, let us know.
I actually got three shout outs. One, I got a shout out my Miami Heat. Whoop that Atlanta Hawk ass.
I was like, what?
Number two.
What
Yeah, sorry.
did that Atlanta
Yeah.
cop do to you?
Yeah. Right. Number two, I like to shout out the U.S. Department of Labor. In case people forgot, they are responsible for the administration of federal laws governing occupational safety, health, wage, hourly standards, unemployment benefits, reemployment services, and occasionally economic statistics. I feel like they have not been doing their job for quite some time, maybe paid off, maybe just lazy, maybe underfunded. If anyone's bored, mad where they work, feel like they're being badly treated, message the U.S. Department of Labor. And then my third shout out is Dan Price. Dan Price is, I think he's an American business executive and he's the co-founder and chief executive officer of of credit card processing company Gravity Payment. So he's a pretty successful guy. He was quoted as saying, "Sending your employees back to the office when gas, food, childcare, pet care, etc., are all through the roof, and not giving them a raise after they spent 2 years doing the job just as well from home is a great way to tell your employees you don't care about them." And I 100% agree with what he said. No thoughts, Jason?
No, sorry, I was muting myself. Yeah, I like what that guy said. I mean, he's 100% right, and I think that goes back to the whole thing that we've been talking about. It's not it's not just the going back to the office and cubicle thing. It's like the whole thing around this is supposed to be a culture and a family and we're a team and we're all that stuff, and reality we're all just cogs in the wheel, and you can see that they really I mean, I think we always knew that they didn't care about us. But now they're really just putting it in your face. Right?
Yeah, I
So
liked when they like pretended,
yeah,
because
yeah,
at
yeah.
least I felt a little loved, but just
Yeah.
nothing now. I just feel bitterness. Like if I
It,
wanted to feel like this, I'd get married. Jesus, but uh, yeah.
it's
All
funny
right.
too.
Well,
I will mention that the first few weeks I was going back into the office, they were doing like these things where they were having like food and events and welcome back and everything. And now it's been what, a little over a month, and it's just
yeah.
they've popped all the little balloons and stuff they had all over the place. Those are gone. There's no more food. It's just zombies walking around. That's all it is. I mean,
Uh,
I don't know about everybody
I know.
else's location, and if you've seen it, post it in the tell us about what it's like where you work if you've returned to the office. That's what let us know in here, because I can tell you where I'm
Yeah.
at. It's just zombie land now.
And I guess my fourth shout out, Jason already covered it. To all the people that, you know, even took the time to listen to our stuff, I really appreciate it. Thank you for all your feedback, even the negative feedback. If you want to talk to us, please leave comments, or you can email us at lostindallas87 at gmail.com. Or, like a lot of you guys like to do, you can text, call me, email me personally. I think I responded to everyone that did. You guys give me ideas, send me articles. I love it. I try to bring them in here and talk about them as much as I can. I just don't like to throw your names out in case there's anything goes badly. But you know who you are. Especially the Minneapolis part of this podcast today was dedicated to someone, to a certain someone. That's all we got. I don't know what our plans are for the next podcast, Jason. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll have something for you guys. And